Good afternoon. Before we call to order today's meeting, I'm going to ask you to stand, please, for an invocation. I'm going to ask Chairman Payne to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance after that. I'll lead us in an invocation. Oh, we'll pray first, Bobby. Come on. We'll pray first. You always pray first. Always pray first.
That's right. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for today. Thank you for the opportunity to meet as free Americans in this delegation. Give us guidance, give us wisdom as we move forward for the citizens of Clay County. In your name we pray, amen.
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 I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please have a seat. Glad to see everyone out today. I'm sure we'll have some folks coming in as the afternoon goes on, but my name is Sam Garrison. I'm a representative representing District 11, which is North Clay County. That's what I like to hear. Thank you. Which is Orange Park, Fleming Island, Lake Asbury, Middleburg, Oakleaf. It's my pleasure to serve as the chairman of the Clay delegation this year, and I'm going to give my fellow members of the delegation, Senator Bradley and Representative Payne, a chance to briefly introduce themselves as well. Senator Bradley.
Well, good afternoon. It's great to be here. As Representative Garrison said, I am Senator Bradley. I represent, after post-redistricting, I represent 7 counties across North Florida: Clay, Baker, Bradford, Union, Columbia, Gilchrist, the northern half of Alachua. So a lot of ground to cover, but I call Clay County home. My family lives on Fleming Island and was just reelected in 22. So it's an honor to serve. It's an honor to be here with y'all today. We just received in the Senate and the House, everyone has received their new committee assignments. And so going forward next session, I'll chair the Appropriations Committee on Civil and Criminal Justice, which is DOC, FDLE, all our criminal justice side, as well as our courts. And so that will be a great opportunity and certainly an area that's really impactful to the area that I serve. I also serve on criminal justice, regulated industries, community affairs, health and human services, the healthcare appropriations committee, and the Senate has a committee on resiliency that will deal with some of the fallout and some of the ways that the state can improve and respond to Hurricane Ian, Hurricane Nicole that affected our state so much this year. So great to be here.
Thanks, Senator. Representatives.
Thank you, Chair. I'm Bobby Payne. After redistricting, I now represent the same portions of Clay County, portions of St. Johns County from US 1 up to the city of St. Augustine, all of Putnam County, all the way down to North Marion and Ocala. So I would just say it's great to be here. This is my last cycle of our terms that I can serve in Clay County for the next 2 years. And I'll just mention that Speaker Renner and I have been working on a new committee for some time. That new committee now is called Infrastructure Strategies. And really it consists of looking at water resources throughout the state, looking at transportation issues, whether they're highways, seaports, airports, railroads, and additionally, of course, water resources is the quality and quantity of water that we have. And then additionally, we have ag, citrus, and another committee in there that actually looks at all agricultural resources. So it's a new committee established so that we can look at what the future of Florida will look like in 20 years or further. So I think it's a groundbreaking committee that I have to give Speaker Renner credit for in the fact that we know we're growing as a state rapidly, and we have to do things to make sure that we are accepting the challenges that come with growth. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I also want to give us a chance to introduce our legislative staff who are here today. These are the folks who, when we're in Tallahassee, are available to address issues big or small that we can be helpful with the state or sometimes even the federal government. So Courtney Horde, raise your hand. Courtney is my district aide. Courtney and her family live in Middleburg and very involved in the Middleburg Civic Association, and we're thrilled to have her as part of our team. Senator, you want to introduce your team?
Sure. I've got 2 of my 3 aides with me today. I've got Mary Lee right here, and she runs our appropriations. So any questions related to appropriations, help with forms, questions on deadlines, how to fill it out, Mary is who you want to see. And then Katie Heffley is here as well, and they both work out of our Fleming Island office. We have a satellite office in Lake City and also one in Bradford. So, but their home base is in Fleming Island.
Representative.
Madam Chair, and I have with me today, first I'll go right to left, I have Tammy Steele, who will be working out of our Ocala office. We're in transition from the Bradford office to Ocala. We've made that move, except we're having a hard time getting the phones hooked up. Additionally, I have Aubrey Fay, who is my legislative assistant. Aubrey is from actually in the Tampa area right now, but she'll be in our Tallahassee office, and she'll be our legislative assistant in Tallahassee, as well as Shonda Goddard, who's our new district representative in Putnam County. And so that's where I live. So we'll be interacting with all three of those as we move forward. So thank you, ladies, for being here.
Thank you, Representative. So just as a general announcement, obviously if you're here, you care about what's happening in Tallahassee and you care about our community here in Clay County. So this is a fun time for us as members of the delegation to come home and hear from our constituents. Obviously we hear from a lot of people in this room on a daily basis, and we're at the grocery store or a church or what have you, but it is good to have a more formal opportunity for folks to come up and communicate to us so that we can hear what's happening and be your voice in Tallahassee. That's ultimately why we're there. We're there to serve our constituents and be your voice. So the legislative session that actually, for those of you, most people here know, we have a 60-day legislative session in Florida. That's established in our Florida Constitution. On odd numbers years, such as 2023, which it will be, we begin in early March. So on March 7th of 2023, we will convene the 2023 legislative session. We'll continue for 60 days of work in Tallahassee and then come home. We'll also come home on the weekends and do our regular jobs while we're over there. We're a citizen legislature. We're not full-time, thankfully. We go over there and serve and then come back to our communities. But we will start the work. We've already started the work, I guess, this last week with the special session on property insurance. When the Governor DeSantis called, we convened in Tallahassee last week, passed some pretty sweeping reforms last week, and we'll be in Tallahassee basically all of January and February leading up to session beginning in March, doing either committee work or the Governor has hinted we may be back in some special sessions again. So the work really starts for real, so to speak, after the new year. So we wanted to have this delegation meeting before the holidays got here and give us an opportunity to hear from you and take that input as we start meeting with our colleagues at the beginning of the new year. I do want to thank also, first and foremost, thank the Board of County Commissioners. I see JB here in the front row. Thank you, BCC. Thank you, Howard, your staff here at the county, for allowing us to use the county chambers for this meeting. We appreciate it. I know it's a lot of work for you all, so thank you. Please tell your staff we said thank you. We really do appreciate that. We have a lengthy agenda. It's at the back if you haven't gotten it already. I'd encourage you to pick it up and follow along. You can't know the players without a scorecard. But if you are a member of the public and would like to speak and do not find yourself on the agenda, there's still time. So I would ask, if you do want to speak and you're not on the agenda, to grab a speaker card in the back. They look like this. Just fill it out and hand it to Ms. Lee here at the front, and she'll pass it along to me. We want to make sure everyone who wants to have an opportunity to address the delegation has that time. And we are going to, once we do get going here, we're going to ask people to hold their comments to about 3 minutes or so a person. Now, that's not a lot of time. So there are going to be things that you want to say that you're not going to have time to say, but that's why our staff is here. So if there's information you want us to have a chance to get to review or talk about, don't leave without getting their cards. We will follow up. This is not meant to be an exhaustive conversation, otherwise we'd be here for a week instead of 3 hours. But it is a chance for us to hear from you and for you to have an opportunity to address us personally. So that's why we're here. Again, we want everyone who's here to have an opportunity to speak. So if you do want to speak, all I do is ask you to fill out that card. No rules about speaking other than just be kind. That's all we're asking for. Just don't be a jerk. Hopefully not to us, but certainly to your folks in the audience. We're all neighbors. We all raised right, and we're going to treat each other with respect and dignity. And with that, now there is one caveat to the 3-minute rule. I'm going to break it, and hope you all won't hold that against me. I'm going to give the Board of County Commissioners a little bit more time because they do cover such a wide expanse of areas and have been given the responsibility by you, the citizens, to report to us about what's going on. So they're going to have some extra time. And I'm also going to give Sheriff Cook and her team an opportunity to have a little bit extra time. Clearly, public safety is job one in Clay County, and we value our law enforcement, so we're going to give her a little bit extra time. Other than that, we're going to try to hold folks to the time limit. So if I give you a little signal here, forgive me. I'm not trying to be rude, but just trying to be respectful so we can all get out of here on time. Last thing I want to do before we get started is say thank you to the men and women in green who are out here keeping us all safe. We appreciate y'all, so we want to say thank you. Sometimes, you can never say thank you enough for those who put their life on the line for the rest of us. So thank you all, Sheriff and your team. We really appreciate you. And with that, we're going to call up our county commission, have them to give. Oh, one last thing I was going to tell you. A lot of times folks will come up and they want to engage in questions back and forth with the members of the delegation. Again, it's about time management. We want to be respectful of your time. So if you have questions for us, just hang tight, or maybe get us back at the office. We want to hear what you have to say. It's really an opportunity for us to listen and hear. But if we're not engaging in back and forth, it's not that we don't want to talk to you or being rude. We're just trying to make the meeting go as it should. All right. So if you've got questions for us, we're all available by email. We're in the community. You know how to find us, and our staff are right here as well. So with that, I want to go get started on our agenda. And the first folks we have to present is the Board of County Commissioners. I think I see Commissioner Renninger. JB, you drew the short straw.
I drew the short straw.
All right, so Commissioner, you are recognized. Vice Chair Renninger, you're recognized, and thank you for being
Well,
here.
good afternoon. On behalf of the Chairwoman, Commissioner Betsy Condon, who can't be with us today due to a family emergency, I want to welcome you to Clay County, the delegation of Clay County. Most of you know me, but nonetheless, my name is Jim Renninger. I'm a Clay County Commissioner here in District 3, and I'm the Vice Chairman this year. So, like you alluded to, I drew the short straw. But anyway, we're not going to take more than 3 minutes, because I could talk 3 minutes about each one of these issues. But it's important that you hear what the projects that we're working on, and these are very important to all our constituents here in Clay County. We're honored to have you here today to listen to a deck plate level conversation from our residents in Clay County. Although we're going to hold a workshop on January 6th to refine our needs, I'm sure our consideration will center around developing programs that we have already started here in Clay County. Programs such as a regional park, expansion of the jail, gun range, burn building, animal control facility, connectivity to the First Coast Expressway through the Bonded Transportation Project, initiatives we have ongoing as Gateway to Clay, College Drive Initiative, High Ridge Initiative, and others. We're very concerned about the quality of life in Clay County. We're bursting at the seams, we're growing exponentially, and you'll be happy to know that the Commission is leaning forward in headwinds of change here in Clay County, using our delegation in all its power to support our constituents here in Clay County. And one of our partners is here today. I want to introduce a member from Southern Group, Mercer Farrington. If you could come on up here, and he's going to be one of our partners that we work with on January 6th. So thank you for being here today.
Thank you, JB.
Thank you very much, and I certainly won't take 3 minutes. But we at the Southern Group in Tallahassee are very excited to be working with the county and with you all over the upcoming session, and be a resource for you, and try to bring as much success as we can back to the county. So again, give my time for somebody else, from some of the constituents to get up and speak, but we're very happy to be working with you on the county. Thank you very much.
Thank you all. Senator, Representative, any comments for the ACC? Okay. Well, thank you all, JB, for your work, and Howard, I see in the back. I do want to publicly thank all 5 members of the commission and your staff. Whenever we have issues, you all are very responsive, and it's a team effort to make sure that we're doing what we can to take care of our people. So thank you for that, and thank you, Howard. And with that, we'll move on. Next, we're going to call on Sheriff Michelle Cook. She's going to hop up here. Yeah. Sheriff, you're recognized.
Thank you, sir. First of all, I just want to say thank you to each of you for the work that you do to represent our community, and we are just so proud to have such a strong delegation in Tallahassee advocating on behalf of the citizens of Clay County. I do have 3 points that I'd like to make. First of all, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for your continued support of our first responders. Please pass the sentiments along to our governor as well. The support and the advocacy and the recruiting of out-of-state deputies, we are starting to see that come to fruition here in Clay County, and our recruiting numbers are looking a lot better than we were a year and a half, 2 years ago. So, and I think that is a direct reflection on the work that not only the governor is doing, but each of you in your support of getting first responders to come to Florida and then keeping them here. So thank you for that. Second thing I'd like to point out, it's a short-term goal that we have, and Representative Garrison, you and I have spoken briefly about this, but we are really focusing on making 2023 the year of protecting children. And so what we would like to ask is, and we'll send you a copy of it, is tightening up the charges of child exploitation and child sexual exploitation, and really closing some loopholes that exist out there that allow sexual predators that prey on our children to get out of the charges. So we really like to focus on protecting our children even more this upcoming session. And then our long-term goal, I tell people, we being the Clay County Sheriff's Office, we have people and stuff in 19 different buildings in this county. We are all over the place. We are bursting at the seams. And one of our long-term needs is going to be additional jail space. We are using grant funding to build out some space in our current footprint, but we need a long-term solution. This build-out is just a short-term Band-Aid. We do need a long-term build-out, and so would ask for your consideration in working with us for a long-term plan on expansion of our jail bed space.
Thank you, Sheriff. Any questions for Sheriff Cook? Any comments? Well, Sheriff, I do want to thank you and your team. I see Tech Bells over there and some of the folks that have really led the way on the initiatives you're describing. For those of you who don't know, Sheriff Cook's team does yeoman's work behind the scenes in the area of child safety and online exploitation. It's just, there's some bad people out there in the world doing some bad stuff to kids, and the sheriff has made it a priority of hers and her team. So if you see those folks over there, tell them thank you for what they do. And I can tell you, having spoken with the speaker about it and others in Tallahassee, this is a priority for us. And so I can assure you this will be an issue that we're going to be moving forward on. So thank you for that. And please let the men and women who are doing those active case work know that they're appreciated, they're not forgotten. And we want to do everything we can to make this the safest community in Florida.
Yes, sir. And I would be remiss if I didn't recognize Detective Ryan Ellis, who really
That was me doing that, setting you up for
I know, thank you. Thank you for that. He just exhaustive investigative and advocacy work for kids that are being exploited here in our community, and has done some amazing work. And it's sad that we're at this place, but we are. And we're drawing the line in the sand, and we're going to do everything we can to end it. And then with the assistance of Jeff Davenport, our legal advisor, who's been working on the legislation proposal that was provided to you. So I just want to thank them. I will say for the record that we have a very large initiative that we're going to be rolling out after the first of the year, involving numerous law enforcement agencies in Northeast Florida. And it's going to be only the second in the nation to exist, and we're really excited. So look forward to notifying your office, and maybe you can join us when we do our press conference on that.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you.
I'll just say, and hats off to you and your team for the great work you're doing. You all have been so in touch with the community. You're everywhere. You have struck the right tone. We're all proud of you and the work you're doing. But I want to echo the sentiments. I know if State Attorney Nelson were here and others, they'd say the same thing. If you're taking advantage of the vulnerable in Clay County, we're coming for you.
Absolutely.
Whether you're elderly or you're a child, there's no tolerance for people who are going to take advantage of folks who can't take care of themselves. So your team's been leading on that, and we stand behind you all the way. So thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. All right. Now these next, I don't know if we've got representatives from all these Constitutional officers up here. Is there anybody here from Clerk Green's office? Yes, come on up, please.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm Tracy McCray. I am the Chief Operations Officer for Tara at the Clay County Clerk's Office. I just wanted to let you know she did have a family emergency this afternoon, so she was not able to attend. She did not have a presentation for you all today, but I think her plan was to meet with you all individually. So just be on the lookout for contact from her after the first of the year.
Great. Thank you very much.
Questions for us or our office?
Just excited that Sarah didn't have a presentation.
She usually does have a pretty lengthy PowerPoint. I agree. Thank you.
All right, is anybody here from Tracy Drake's office? Is Tracy here? Anybody from his office? All right, our property appraisers out there working hard. It's Chris Chambliss. I know I've spoken with Chris. Chris, you here? Okay, I don't see anybody from SOE Chambliss' office. How about Tax Collector Hutchings? Diane, anybody here from Diane's office? All right, we're moving. This is good. I do see David Broski back there. And David, as with our sheriff, I should have mentioned you as well. Our schools are incredibly important, so if you need to take a little extra time, please, whatever you need, okay? And is the school board here as well, or are you here on behalf of the board?
I'm here on behalf of.
All right, sounds good. Take as much time as you need, Dave.
Well, since the three previous speakers weren't here, I figured that it totals 12. 12 minutes to talk about Clay County schools. First, let me thank you for the support the legislative delegation has given and for all the hard work that's occurred in Tallahassee. I can proudly make the assertion that Clay County District Schools even stronger coming out of the pandemic than we were going into the pandemic, and that's due to outstanding service in Tallahassee and support for public education that you guys have shown. We came out of the pandemic as an A school district and a top 10 performer in every statistical category. And really, Clay County Schools is the fabric of our whole county. 40,000 students, if everybody has two parents, that's 80,000 people with the original 40,000 and a population of 218,000. So it has a very big impact on our community. As far as legislative asks, obviously an increase in the BSA is a standard thing to ask for. As superintendent of schools, we're proud of the increase that occurred last year. And of course, we would love to see an increase when it comes to pre-K. The very foundation of learning is from our very young students. There's a lot of literature that supports the idea that if a student does not learn to read by third grade, their odds of improving in that go down dramatically. So pre-K learning and the base student allocation is roughly half of that of a regular FTE student. So that's an area that we've kind of targeted. We'd also like to see a full cost for expanded scholarship programs. In Clay County, that went from 2.5 to 10.6 in one single year. I guess our reason for bringing this forward is just for budgeting purposes. We'd like to know how much we're going to be responsible for ahead of time. So it's more about the flexibility of the funding, not the actual scholarships themselves. We'd like to thank you for the TSIA. You know, elevating the teaching profession is certainly a huge thing, and the increase in teaching salary attracts teachers to our state and puts us in the top 10 for starting teacher salary. We'd love to see flexibility within that legislation to allow us to compensate our veteran teachers. I know there was some work last year when it went to 50%. We'd like to see that taken a step further so that we can compensate those in the middle and retain, because we not only want to recruit, we want to retain the ones that we have, so we would appreciate that. I want to thank you so much for Community Partnership Schools. We provide wraparound services at Wilkinson Junior, Keystone High, Orange Park High. That's a valuable program, and we appreciate the funding for that program. Additionally, we'd like to see additional funding for more mental health for our students. We do see an increase of mental health concerns for students and staff, and we'd like to see that fully funded. Again, I thank you for your leadership and all you guys do. Certainly offer my services for any questions or anything that pops up in the education world, and we're so proud to serve the students of Clay County.
Thank you, Superintendent. All right. I don't see any judges here, so we're going to move on there. Anybody from State Attorney Nelson's office? I don't see anybody. How about Public Defender Kofer? I don't see anybody. I think I did see Candace Brower out there. Is Candace, you here? Come on up. Regional Conflict Council.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you so much for adding me last minute to the agenda. I was going to get up here and say we have the same issues as the PD and the state attorneys, but they're not here.
We can
But
speak for them all now.
well, and we do. We are the lesser-known arm, and for the record, I'm Candace Brower. We are the lesser-known arm of the criminal justice system. We get appointed when the public defender has a conflict mostly, and thanks to legislators like you, we are now being recognized equally. We do the same jobs. It's just as thankless sometimes, but equally as important. But one issue we're still behind the public defenders and state attorneys on is retirement. Our senior attorneys still make less in retirement than an entry-level PD or state attorney. I came over here because I have an office right across the street. I have 32 counties in North Florida. And it's just an honor to be before all of you, and I'm very excited about what this next session holds with Chair Bradley there for the state attorneys and public defenders and the rest of the judicial system. And I just thank you all for your time and letting me speak today.
Thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to our municipalities here in the town. First up is the town of Orange Park, number one in my heart. Mayor Anderson, you're recognized.
Yes, thank you, sir. First of all, I'd like to thank the three of you for your service. And I just want to hit some accomplishments that the town of Orange Park had this past year with your help. First one is the FERDEP grant for Radley Park at Nelson Point. The Historical Black Culture Resource Grant at T.C. Miller Community Center. The Historical Resource Grant for the Clark Park Cottage. Construction of 2 on-ramps at I-95 that are now underway. The resurfacing of Kingsley Avenue will begin in 2023. Some support that we're looking for is how does the state plan to address the long-term impact of electrical vehicles on our main source of funding for transportation. Second thing would be policies. Please continue to support home rule initiatives that allow local control over short-term vacation rentals, sober homes, drug treatment facilities, red light cameras, and building heights and zoning districts for affordable housing. This is the important one, funding. I have a couple requests for funding. The first one is the town of Orange Park requests funding for the Black Creek Trail to Doctors Lake Trail connection. This connection would provide the missing link between the two trails as identified in TPO 2016 Orange Park Bike and Pedestrian Sub-Area Plan. The area currently has no sidewalks at all and presents a safety risk. The town requests $500,000. The town has budgeted $250,000 as a match towards this project. The second project, the town has made great strides in the stormwater system since Hurricane Irma. We currently have 4 undersized culverts at Plainfield, Nelson South, and Carn Street. We continue to apply for grants to make improvements. Our current application under the Resilient Florida program is a value of $14 million. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate that. All right, next up is the city of Green Cove Springs. I see Mayor Johnson here. Matt, how are you?
I'm doing well, sir.
You're recognized, sir.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Hey, I just want to thank each of you also for your service and support of Green Cove Springs as we continue to grow. We're in a growth spurt, and you've helped us so much. In fact, some specific projects you've helped us with is the River Access and Public Safety Project, Stormwater Improvement Project, the Walnut Street Improvement Project, and the City Pier Project. I'm just thankful that we can operate together as a big team. That's what I see, and that you truly care about your constituents. And so I just want to let you know that we appreciate you and that we're here to help you in any way we can. I would like to turn it over to our city manager, Steve Kennedy, for some quick remarks.
Certainly. Steve, come on up.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Chairman. If I could make a personal request, if Orange Park is number 1 in your heart, it would be number 1 in your pocketbook.
You have to.
May we continue to do that. A couple of items that we wanted to talk about, and I have the benefit of serving on 2 legislative committees, one for the Florida League, and serve with Commissioner Renninger on the Northeast Florida League of Regional Commission. I've got some things here that I'll leave, but they're basically the priorities of, and you will be hearing that, I'm sure, from those individual groups. I know Florida League has a significant presence there, but I just wanted to give them to you so when you have nothing to do, you can read through that. The other point, one other point I wanted to mention is, as we've grown and as you all have supported us with beautifying our spring park, the view is getting uglier and uglier as we look out on the river. We have about 25, average to 35 derelict boats. Not all of them are derelict, but many of them are. And we have gone and made efforts to make contact with them, and we'll spend an inordinate amount of time preparing and getting there. And if they're found to be in some degree of violation, it's a slap on the wrist based on the current state statutes that regulate that. My main request here is that you all, whether you're hearing it from any of your other constituents or your other peers, we will put something together and formally to you all to carry that forward in whatever way you can. We've got a study that's being done now of all the riverfront assets from Governor's Point all the way down to the Shannon Bridge. Part of that's not specifically in the city, but we're doing the whole study. Part of that also is a mooring field. So if we do that, we can get the mooring field established, we can control more. But there are limitations and issues with some of that. So once we get our study.
It's a very subtle reminder.
Since the superintendent didn't take all his 12. But part of what we're looking at is we want to make sure that we can get something done with that so that whenever we do move forward, and if we can do something with the mooring field, that we have the ability to enforce, and whenever that enforcement takes place, it's more than just a slap on the wrist. It's something that will keep people from going there, and I'll refer to it as uglying up our cove, and we don't want that to happen. The last thing I wanted to mention is we have spoken with you on a number of times about the governor's boat ramp, and we are finalizing a few options and discussions on that, and we will get with you formally, possibly with a face-to-face visit a little bit later.
Great.
Any questions from us?
Thanks, Steve.
No, I just say the derelict marine vessel issue has been around for a couple of years now, especially after Hurricane Irma.
Right.
And I'm trying to remember what the status is on that. I thought there was some authority to go ahead and move forward with those issues to a stronger degree than a wrist slap. I may be wrong, but we'll go back and go look at that.
There has been some movement recently with that, yes, sir.
There's probably some titling and some other issues has to go with it, but if it's truly derelict, there's some recovery that has to go on,
Right.
some mitigation before the vessel can be removed, and I think it's charged back to the owner. So, but I'd be glad to talk to you more about that.
I'd like to do that. We've made some efforts for coordinating with the Wildlife Commission. They're coming and identifying several boats. We're going to do the same thing. So, thank you very much.
Well,
And on the,
one thing, Steve.
one more. On the Governor's Creek boat ramp, I love projects that open up our natural resources to everybody in the county. I mean, we are blessed to live in one of the most beautiful parts of the state, and access to those resources aren't for people who can just afford to live along the river. So our bike trails, our ramps, Spring Park, those projects I think are really an important part of our quality of life here. As you're getting those numbers together, remember, the sooner we get them, the better in the budget process. And this goes for all the appropriations that we'll hear today. The sooner you can get the numbers in, the sooner that we can get the forms the easier it is for us to get those forms moving in the process and talk to the people that we need to talk to. So I look forward to getting those as soon as you can.
Thank you very much.
And I'll reiterate, we all are in agreement on that. Anything that increases access to the St. Johns River for working folks shouldn't just be for folks who live on the water. So obviously it's got to be consistent with our planning and being good neighbors and all that, but to the extent that the government's trying to get more folks on the water, we're supportive. So
Made my day.
thank you, appreciate y'all. All right, is Mayor Lake here from Keystone? Let's see. Oh, come on up. Hey, Lynn.
Good afternoon. I'm Lynn Murkowski, the city manager for the city of Keystone Heights. I do apologize Mayor Lake was unable to attend, but I am here in her place. I just wanted to say thank you very much for all the hard work that you do for our community. Without the ladies and gentlemen up there in Tallahassee, we would not be able to accomplish the things like the Black Creek Water Resource Project, and we're very excited for what that's going to bring to our community. In fact, as you are number one, or Orange Park is number one in your hearts, and we've got the pocketbooks in Green Cove Springs, come on down and take a breather in Keystone Heights and look at the hidden gems and the capability that we give you to relax and rejuvenate. You're going to hear a little bit more about the Geneva Project, which is something the next phase is we're hoping to accomplish with the Black Creek Project. However, what you're going to hear from the city of Keystone Heights is going to be continuing development to our Keystone Airport. And to speak better on that, I brought with me our airport chairman, Mr. David Kirkland.
David, you reckon that?
Good afternoon. Thank you. The Keystone Heights Airport Authority Board of Directors, we want to say how much we appreciate all the assistance that the state of Florida continues to provide to the only public use airport in Clay County and Bradford County. Grants through FDOT Aviation and Spaceports, they're very beneficial to us being able to maintain the aviation services to general aviation, corporate, and military aircraft that use the Keystone Airport. We realize there's a lot of infrastructure needs that potentially new businesses look for when they're looking at a new site. Water and sewer, high-speed internet, improved road access, hangars, and warehousing are some of the essential items. With water sewer being our highest priority, AECOM, the airport's engineering consultant, has been collaborating with CCUA to complete a feasibility study to determine those projected costs. And we're anticipating this study is going to be available early spring 2023. Appropriations requests will be submitted for the water sewer. However, there are some other essential infrastructure items that is going to require funding in the future, and I've listed those in the brief that we've provided to you. So thank you again for all that you do to help us at the airport. We greatly appreciate it. Any questions I might answer for you?
Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm going to throw the agenda around a little bit since we're talking Keystone. I see Vivian in the back. Would you all, we're talking Keystone. Get the lakes up here. Come on. I noticed it's a red shirt. She's always on brand. Vivian, it's good seeing you. You're recognized.
Thank you so much for letting me come early.
You happy to do it. Go ahead.
Red shirts help, even if it is Christmas, red shirts.
That's right.
I'm glad to hear Black Creek mentioned, okay, because I want to talk to you about that. I'm wearing two hats today. I'm the acting director of Lake Region Development Corporation, and I'm also the president of Save Our Lakes organization. And both of these nonprofits are working on this project that I'm going to talk to you about. The Black Creek Project, as you know, was developed by the St. Johns Water District, was funded by the state of Florida, by the St. Johns Water District, and by the North Florida Utilities Consortium. I believe Jeremy is here. So we have some good funding on this. Black Creek shovels are in the ground. The pump station is under construction. I believe I've been told that the pipeline will be started next year, and that the ending of the project is expected to be fall of 2024, okay? So basically in fall of 2024, at that point, an average of 7.5 million gallons a day of water will be flowing into Alligator Creek and then on into Lake Brooklyn. Lake Brooklyn and Geneva are part of the Ettenai chain of lakes. that starts up in Camp Landing and goes on into Lake Brooklyn, Lake Geneva, and on out to Old Pond. The two lakes, Brooklyn and Geneva, are part of the Ethanide chain, but more importantly, play a major role in the recharge of the Floridan aquifer. Okay? Lake Brooklyn outflows into Little Lake Keystone and then on into Lake Geneva. Heavy pumping from our aquifer, to accommodate Florida's growth has left the lake levels low for decades, okay, interrupting the natural flow of the Ethanide chain of lakes, and consequently has significantly reduced the aquifer recharge Lakes Brooklyn and Geneva have provided in the past. Lake Brooklyn last reached its outflow level in 1998, if that kind of tells you what's happening for decades. So due to this situation, the lake bed of Lake Geneva is not in its natural state. Instead, its interconnected lobes that have natural vegetation are now ponds, surrounded by heavy vegetation and full-grown trees. In fact, you could have a logging industry out there at this point, I think. So what we're looking at is, unless this is dealt with now, before the water starts flowing, because it will start flowing probably into Lake Geneva about a year after the completion, okay? Because right now Lake Brooklyn is at like 106 elevation. They're projecting that it will increase with the 7.5 MGD, it will increase 10 feet in 1 year. So, I'll hurry. So what we're asking for, basically Lake Geneva, Solo and the Lake Region Development will be working with St. John's Water District, Clay County, the City of Keystone Heights, FDEP, Florida Fish Wildlife, and others to prepare Lake Geneva to receive the expected flow from Black Creek. This will include removing trees, vegetation, and other debris that would improve both the quality of the water and allow for safer waterways as Lake Geneva's levels improve. My ask of you today may not yet have an official dollar sign in front of it. It may be assistance with permits. It may be, with other partnering agencies. Between now and your session, we will be working to bring you a shovel-ready Geneva project. And I actually think this is going to be the exclamation point on Black Creek.
Thank you, Vivian.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you and all your team for the years of advocacy for the people of that region. So, a quick comment. Yes, sir.
I just want to thank Vivian for what she's done. I've been working on this 6 years now. I've got 2 more years left. I started at former R. Bradley, and we funded it in 2017. And so you've been the champion since day one. So we thank you for your efforts. You've never backed off. The red shirts are always there. So thank you so much.
We try. Thank you so much.
Thank
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Vivian. All right. Is anyone here from the town of Penny Farms? Left from Penny Farms. All right, moving on. I do see Jeremy there with the CCUA. Jeremy Johnson, please come forward. Oh, before we do that, are there any other local government folks who I haven't recognized? I think we've got all the municipalities. Any other special districts or anything? I don't think so. All right, Jeremy, you're recognized. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Representative Garrison, Representative Payne, and Senator Bradley. Jeremy Johnston, CCUA's Executive Director. On behalf of our Board of Supervisors and the entire CCUA team, I would like to express our gratitude and appreciation for your service in representing Clay County in the state legislature. I begin by sharing a bit of CCUA's contribution to the state's response and recovery efforts after Hurricane Ian. Within a couple of days of the storm's passing, CCUA mobilized and deployed a significant team of experienced, licensed operators, mechanics, and technicians, along with a convoy of trucks, generators, pumps, and other equipment to Southwest Florida. CCUA's team provided essential support to the disaster response and recovery efforts at both Cape Coral and Sanibel Island. In addition to their response and recovery efforts, our team learned a great deal. We are taking the opportunity to update and refine our own policies and disaster response plans. We look forward to sharing our experience and recommendations with Secretary Hamilton on January 31st. One of our recommendations will be for the state of Florida to consider designating water and wastewater utility personnel as essential first responders. Utility personnel provide vital services in protecting people's health and safety. Protecting water supplies and preventing the spread of disease are essential for restoring our communities. We understand House Bill 23 provides the essential first responder designation to water and wastewater utility personnel. We respectfully request your support of this bill. CCUA continues with the development of the Peters Creek Water Reclamation Facility. Over $50 million will be invested as both an advanced wastewater treatment and a zero discharge facility, benefiting the community through the increased supply of reclaimed water. Peters Creek will serve areas of rapid growth and development west and south of Green Cove Springs. This facility will also serve areas of the county that are designated for commercial and industrial development. These areas served by Peters Creek will bring much needed jobs to Clay County. And over time, Peters Creek will become our flagship facility. Our staff is preparing an appropriations request for the legislature's consideration and would greatly appreciate your support. Thank you for your service to the people who live and work here in Clay County. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy. All right, we're going to move on. Ashley Barber, Assistant Chief with CCSO, is on our agenda. Ashley, here? All right. While she's coming up, I'm going to remind anybody who wasn't here at the very beginning of the meeting, if you would like to speak and you're not on the agenda, fill out one of these cards and we'll rush it up. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right.
Good afternoon.
Barbara, you're recognized.
Thanks for having me today. I have with me several dispatchers, so I'm here to talk about our public safety telecommunicators. I have Malin, she's a dispatcher for the Green Cove Springs Police Department. Courtney, Regina, and Sarah, and they all work at the Sheriff's Office with me. All right, so my name is Ashley Barber. I'm Assistant Chief of Communications at the Sheriff's Office. I started my career at the Sheriff's Office almost 25 years ago as a 911 public safety telecommunicator. So going forward, I'm just going to say PST. Saves me a few seconds in time. All right, so I'm here today to talk about a statewide initiative regarding Florida State Statute 112.1815 and ask for support in the legislation to include the PSTs in the first responders under that statute. This would include 911 PSTs into special provisions for employee-related accidents, injuries, and most importantly, access to post-traumatic stress disorder care. Studies show that 911 PSTs are just as susceptible to PTSD as their fellow first responders in the field. Currently, firefighters, paramedics, and law enforcement officers are mentioned in the statutes, but not the 911 dispatchers. A first responder in public safety is an employee whose duties include responding rapidly to emergencies or accidents to provide assistance. 911 dispatchers are essentially the first responders. They serve 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, same as a firefighter or a law enforcement officer. They make the same sacrifices by leaving their families to handle emergencies, to answer 911 calls that save lives, protect property, and to ensure the safety of our community during emergency events, such as hurricanes. We're there. As the men and women on the street, we're also there working too. So they're the first line of communication for the citizens of Clay County when they need help, and they play a critical role in the emergency response. Unfortunately, the Bureau of Labor Statistics classifies this critical role as office or administrative. So anyone that's ever done this job before or that has received life-saving help from one of our 911 professionals know that's simply not true. They hear cries of devastation and listen to screams for help while promptly dispatching the units out in the field to those emergency situations. With emerging technology to 911, which are quickly approaching, what that means to all the dispatchers countywide, nationwide, is they'll begin receiving videos and photos that are transmitted through our 911 system. They'll be exposed not only audibly, they can hear everything going on, we'll actually see these items too, whether it's bodily injury, death, violent, or traumatic events. PSTs not only hear them, but they can potentially see these when they're live streamed into our emergency communication centers. This line of work requires special skills, qualifications, training, and knowledge. So we all must possess a certificate from the Department of Health. We have to go through a 232-hour curriculum, pass a state exam, which is administered by the state, and be certified to answer 911. Additionally, we have to take training and be recertified every 2 years. The last thing I want to mention is the problem that spans throughout the state and actually nationwide. So it's a shortage of dispatchers and retaining them as well. While I realize manpower shortages and all types of careers are out there, dispatchers really see, I'm almost done, dispatchers really see this problem, mainly due to the stress and long hours that we work. So other dispatchers, am I done?
No, keep going.
All right. All right, so last year, our
Sheriff Cook's time, her exemption is imputed to you. So.
Okay. All right. This was almost 7 minutes long, and I condensed it down to 3 minutes, I promise. So last year, our communications center at the Sheriff's Office answered almost 21,000 911 calls for service. So average out, that's 60 calls a day for emergency service. Add that on top of the 40-something thousand calls we billed for all the other non-emergency calls and other things we deal with. So pretty stressful job. So moving forward this initiative to recognize 911 dispatchers as first responders by adding the wording certified telecommunicators into the statute definition will go a long way towards helping our agencies as well as many with hiring and retention. There's other dispatchers that are addressing these committees in all 67 counties, and they plan to travel to Tallahassee during the upcoming 2023 session. So thanks for your time. Thanks for listening to me.
Thank you. And thank you all for listening to us when we call in emergency situations.
Absolutely.
Your message is being heard. Last session, I was able to get a bill passed to extend PTSD benefits for correctional officers. The 911 dispatchers were a part of that conversation. They ultimately were not included in that bill. We couldn't get that across the finish line, but I look forward to renewing that discussion when we go back next year and having further conversations with you.
Very much appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you all for what you do. All right, next up is Ashley Spears, the guardian ad litem here. You're recognized. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. My name is Ashley Spears. I'm a senior guardian ad litem attorney here in Clay County, Florida. I first want to just thank you all for your time and also your support over the years for the guardian ad litem office. The statewide guardian ad litem office represents abused and neglected children in the community and their legal interests in the courtroom. Every child assigned to the guardian ad litem office is assigned a guardian ad litem attorney, a child welfare professional, and hopefully a volunteer from the child's community. Our legal representation protects and advances the legal rights of children whose age and other limitations prevent them from making their own decisions. The guardian ad litem office considers a child's physical safety, emotional well-being, and a permanent placement in a stable, nurturing home environment where the child can thrive. We provide zealous, independent advocacy and are the only one on the case who provides undivided loyalty to the child. Our multidisciplinary team model representation is recognized as a national best practice for representing children. I wanted to share with you all why I'm so passionate for the guardian ad litem office. I always had a passion to advocate for children, which is the main reason I went to law school. I initially thought I would be doing something with family law because when I found out about the guardian ad litem office through our pro bono office, I knew I found it where I needed to be. I started as a volunteer back in 2010 while in law school, and eventually after law school I was able to find my career as a guardian ad litem attorney. Through guardian ad litem, I was able to find and be a voice for children that couldn't have a voice. And I wanted to just share one quick example of my advocacy in the courtroom. I had a case where a young girl was placed with relatives years ago, and that arrangement was supposed to be permanent. However, her caregiver passed away, and she was brought back into care. Neither parent had visited in years, and now was put back in the system due to her caregiver's unfortunate and unexpected death. We could not let her wait any longer for permanency and did not want her to continue to linger in the system. She was able to be placed with another relative to be able to care for her forever. I was able to file a termination of parental rights petition and advocate on the child's behalf that her parents' rights should be terminated so that she would not have to come into the system again if something were to happen to her caregiver. This is only one example of our advocacy by our attorneys each and every day. But I do know for the last 9.5 years, I've been able to be the voice of our vulnerable children in the courtroom here in Clay County. I appreciate your time, and appreciate your support and continued support of the Guardian Ad Litem office.
Thank you. Thank you for what you all do.
Thank you.
All right, I see President Pickens in the back. Joe, come on up. President of St. John's River State College, you're recognized, my friend.
Good afternoon, and thank you. I seem to always find myself using some of my time to advocate for something other than the college. This morning in St. Johns County, it was a Florida School for the Deaf and Blind, which I always do and will do again here, even though it is located in St. Johns County. But in this case, I wore red, not knowing I was still part of the team. In October of 2000, I sent out a bright orange postcard 10 days before the election to Clay County and saying, if you vote for me, I'll do more for your lake levels than pray for rain. And here we are 22 years later, still sometimes praying for rain. And so that is a job that still needs to be finished, and I would echo the efforts of everything they've done for the last 2 decades and hope that y'all can help them. I also want to advocate for the College Drive project, especially since obviously it will help the college, especially if it helps Sam, that southerly entrance to that many people use for the Thrasher Horn. On a personal note, your personal commitments to the college and relationships that we have are very important to me. Senator Bradley, the Pace Center for Girls, and also our community partnerships with Wilkinson Elementary and Orange Park High School speak volumes about your understanding of the college and how we can impact things. Sam, it can be lonely at the top, and it's really lonely at the top during a pandemic. As my former board chair, you really made a difference for me in my lifetime as I was struggling with how to lead the college during that very difficult time. It's a relationship I always cherish and an opportunity that I appreciate having had. And Bobby, I'm going to hopefully maybe take 30 seconds of my time from here down to Putnam County and talk about how much you have meant to me in the college during that delegation meeting. What I'd like to do over the next 3 years is discuss, especially with the 2 of you who will remain, how can the college best fit into the plans of the growth of Clay County? Is it on our current campus, or is it somewhere else? Or do we not need to grow at all and we need to do other things? So that is my request of you today, is that you maintain your relationship with me and the college so that when the Beltway is finally finished, we are ready, as opposed to deciding then what we're going to do.
Thank you. Thank you, Joe. Those kind of words. I will just say for those in the audience who are watching that aren't aware of the great work that happens at St. John's River State, it's world class, and they are recognized internationally as providing some of the best education in both workforce training and also for folks who don't want to incur the debt that often comes with a traditional 4-year education. So Joe, please tell your team we appreciate you all and what you do for us. So thank you. Next up is Don Phan with the Way Free Medical Clinic. Don, you're recognized.
Thank you all for your service, and thank you for your support of our Florida Association of Free and Charitable Clinics that provides 250,000 people with free medical care each year. I don't really have to stand here and convince you the need for the clinic services and the need for free medical care in Clay County. For many county residents, the only affordable care is free care. And I think most of you know, as this poster shows, that we're going to build a second clinic on College Drive right across from St. John's River College. And it will double our capacity to serve the folks of Clay County who need us. We're also going to have that facility be the hub for the county's first coordinated medical care initiative that will navigate all uninsured and underinsured residents to the care that they need, keep them out of the hospital when at all possible, and save the healthcare system literally millions of dollars doing that. Also, at the bequest of some of the county commissioners, we will be bringing in the county's only free dental clinic into that facility.
and create a really highly coveted medical dental partnership model there that will dramatically increase dental care for Clay County. We are going to request a state appropriation funding for this facility. I'm already working with Ryan at your office for that, and with your permission, I'll reach out to Mary Lee and see how we can get that done. We may need upwards of $1 million, $1.5 million to complete it, including all the site redevelopment that's become mandatory. We'll know better in January or February on that. But thank you for your support on that.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you. Thank you for what you do for so many in the county. It's appreciated.
Thank you.
For y'all, if you haven't ever been to the Way and seen their operation, I encourage you to do so. These folks are there. Some of them are very good friends of mine, have been volunteers there for many, many years because they just love people, they love the Lord, and it lives out in their work at that place. So thank you for what you're doing, Don. We appreciate you very much.
Thank you again.
Thank you. Dr. Cowie. You're recognized, my friend. Good seeing you.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you, and thank you all for your continued service to the citizens of our county. I have Patrick Hale with me here today. He's our CEO. We're respectfully requesting that you introduce and support an appropriation of $2.5 million from the state of Florida to support the efforts of Mercy Support Services to complete the construction of the first building of Mercy Village, enhancing the quality of life in Clay County. You are all well aware of the accomplishments of Mercy Support Services since the inception 12 years ago. We have a well-documented success of ending the cycle of poverty with our graduates and helping them become productive citizens in our county. Our target clients are not the chronically homeless that often have mental illness, addiction, and/or criminal issues. Rather, we serve those whose circumstances have created an urgent need for housing and the wraparound services that we provide. 92% of those that we assist are mothers who have been divorced, abandoned, or separated. Excuse me. And suddenly cannot make ends meet on their own. Their children also benefit by not being forced to live on the streets. However, since the pandemic, we have had a rapid increase in rents and the lack of available housing, combined with the rapid growth in our county and the expected growth in the next 10 years. The needs for services have increased dramatically. As a result, the board of directors have taken an initial step to construct Mercy Village, a 65-unit apartment complex that will provide housing for our adult self-sufficiency program and 2 dorm-style apartments for the 8 unaccompanied youth that are enrolled in our student self-sufficiency program. Because of the time limit, I will give the rest of this presentation to Courtney. I have a copy for each of you, but we respectfully ask that you consider supporting us in our efforts to make this county a better place. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bob. And thank you for your years of service to this organization, too. All right, next up is Ryan Chandler. Mr. Chandler, good afternoon. You're recognized, sir.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much. My name is Ryan Chandler. I'm the president of the Association of Support Coordination Agencies. I appreciate the delegation listening to concerns regarding waiver, support coordination, and reimbursement rates. Support coordination is the case management function for the Agency for Persons with Disabilities I-Budget waiver and is the only service that is required for a recipient of the waiver. We are a small fraction of the budget, yet we have the most responsibility of any service provider. The waiver support coordinators we hire must have a bachelor's degree and 2 years of related experience, 90 days of mentorship under another waiver support coordinator mentor. With the demands and level of responsibility that is placed on them, it has proven difficult for the qualified organizations that I represent statewide to maintain a consistent workforce at the current level of reimbursement. This is compounded by inflation and cost of living increases, which are causing our qualified candidates to seek employment elsewhere, in turn affecting our ability to provide consistent service delivery and availability to the vulnerable clients receiving services through the waiver. With the increase in rates in July of 2022 for other direct care service providers and residential facilities, one issue in consistent service delivery on the waiver was resolved. We now need to look at waiver support coordination and how better rates will ensure that waiver clients receive the best and most consistent services and care possible. We are currently at the same level of reimbursement as we were in 1994, yet the cost of living has increased 92% during this time. With the increased duties and responsibilities of waiver support coordinators and the current low rate of reimbursement, it has become extremely difficult to attract and retain qualified professionals, waiver support coordinators, to serve Florida's most vulnerable population of persons with disabilities across the state. Thank you.
Thank you. Brian, I'm going to ask you, if you don't mind, at your convenience, you follow up with Courtney on that. I think that issue is going to fall under healthcare budget. I'd like to know a little bit more about it. So if you just follow up a little extra at your convenience, I like that. Thank you very much. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Mr. Cowie?
Oh, Bob.
Would you make sure you get your card to my assistant there? I think we had some emails that went back and forth, and maybe perhaps we didn't get a chance to fully vet those. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Representative. All right, next up is Chris Stone with the Children's Home Society of Florida. Chris, good afternoon. And you're recognized.
Thank you, sir. Before I begin with the prepared remarks, I want to recognize a couple of my colleagues that are here with me today. Mrs. Lauren Fanensteel, who is our Community Partnership School Director at Orange Park High School, and also Ms. Shawn Smith, who is our Director at Wilkinson Junior High. Both UCF Certified Community Partnership Schools, which leads the way not only in our region, but throughout the state. So first, good afternoon, members. Again, my name is Chris Stone. I serve as the Senior Director. On behalf of all of us at Children's Home Society of Florida, congratulations on your recent campaigns. We look forward to working with you. In just the last month, CHS celebrated 120 years of service throughout our state and worked to prioritize children and building bridges for their success. We look forward to being recognized at the Florida Cabinet next month. We are also excited to share with you the news of our community partnership school model. Within the last month, 7 new community partnership schools were announced throughout Florida, and this brings the total now to 36 in Florida, including Keystone Heights Senior High, Junior Senior High, Wilkinson Junior High, and Orange Park High here in Clay County. Thank you again to Senior Bradley for your recent generous donation and to your service to our schools. This model pulls together 4 core partners for each of the 3 Clay County Community Partnership Schools and the schools that I've recently mentioned. And those partners include, of course, the school district, Children's Home Society is the nonprofit, Healthcare Partners Baptist Health, AZA Health, Orange Park Medical Center, and Palms Medical Group, and our local university or college, St. John's River State College and Santa Fe College. So I also have to stop and recognize the support from the superintendent, his entire leadership team, and their commitment to serving our students and families each day, as well as President Pickens and his commitment. So these partners have come together for a long-term commitment and investment into the students and families. It starts with a 25-year MOU. So with that, we are requesting an increase in funding to continue to implement the model throughout Clay County and throughout the state. Thank you for your time and enthusiasm and your consideration, and we look forward to working with you in the upcoming session.
Thank you very much.
And I also have to just apologize to Representative Payne for hearing me speak twice in one day. That's not usually something I make people suffer through more than once.
He's a pro. He can handle it.
It's not a problem. You guys, I visited you this past summer.
Yes, sir.
And you do amazing work. So thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, sir. Next up is Carolyn Kroll, CEO of the Clay Education Foundation. Hi, Carolyn. You're recognized.
Hi there.
I'm Karen McCraw, here in my new role as president of the Clay Education Foundation. Clay Education Foundation is the direct support for Clay County District Schools. Our purpose is really just to build upon the fabulous work already happening in our schools by funding classroom innovation, college and career readiness, literacy, and investing in teachers. I'm here to say thank you. Because of your commitment to the state of Florida's Foundation Matching Grant Program, we were able to leverage state funds to encourage private sector investment. So of the $6 million that the state gives across the state, Clay will receive $80,000. And that helps fund classroom grants, Tools for Schools, which is our classroom supply store, and STEM education. This fall, we awarded $20,000 in classroom grants to our teachers for STEM and literacy projects. Some of the projects were 3D printers and pens at Clay Hill Elementary, and also software at Orange Park Junior for coding. Last week, I was able to visit a group of fourth graders who were doing their 3D pens. They made keychains and were able to take pictures in their digital portfolio. Moving over to the Tools for Schools program, last year we handed out $100,000 in free school supplies to teachers. Because of that program and our matching dollars and private funding, we were also able to open a second store down in Keystone Heights. Those teachers down in Keystone were not able to really come up to our main store at Garber. We are also, because we're a small nonprofit organization, we can stay nimble and respond to the needs that we're seeing. And so we're listening to our educators, we're listening to our families and business leaders so that we can invest where it really matters most. As Superintendent Brodsky mentioned, there's a lot of achievements to celebrate in Clay County. Our teachers' success are just a function of the strong support from Clay County schools, from our families, from you all as elected officials and our community partners. So thank you for making education a priority and funding the matching grants. And I will say, anytime you guys want to come around with me and visit classrooms, there's really some great work happening. So thank you.
Thank you, Carol. All right, is Irene here? See Irene? Clay Behavioral, come on up. Good afternoon, you are recognized.
Good to see you all. I love how so many people have mentioned mental health, right? before
Yeah,
me?
pull it down a little bit so we can hear you.
Okay.
Thank you.
How's that?
Much better, thank you.
Okay, great. So I will also start off by saying thank you. You all individually and together supported services for mentally ill and substance use clients before it was cool to do that. So I thank you for your ongoing support. You've helped us with the Community Crisis Prevention Team, our ACAP, Respite House, and our Project Saving Lives, which is a partnership with Gateway and St. Vincent's Clay. So we appreciate your ongoing support. I'll tell you, I wanted to just update you on a couple of things we've done probably since the last time we met, and some have continued. Our paramedicine program with Clay County Fire and Rescue, doing really great work, meeting folks who have opioid overdoses and getting them started on medication-assisted treatment on the spot. Partnership, again, with St. Vincent's Clay. Our core program, the governor's new initiative, we're a pilot program, the Coordinated Opioid Response. So that has launched. We have a little satellite office on College and 220. So we're excited about that. Mobile response team continues. So not 24 hours, 60-minute response time to people in crisis in the county, anywhere in the county. So we've met our numbers on that, are able to get to people when they call in with a behavioral health crisis. Talkable Communities, which you may have heard about, is a collaboration between 6 county areas with some of my colleagues in the behavioral health space, and we are really trying to make Clay County a talkable community. Walkable is important, right? Green space and all the lovely areas we have to walk. We want to encourage people to talk about their feelings and their emotions a little bit more to kind of avoid problems down the road. And our newest program is the co-responder team, thanks to the leadership and outreach of the sheriff. We are partnering a pilot program to have a mental health counselor respond with law enforcement to situations where that may be needed. So far, so good. Right? Yeah. So more people than ever talking about behavioral health, more people reaching out for help. Darn it. More people reaching out for help. I gotta look at my notes real quick.
The beat does it every time.
And more funding in this.
You still got 45 things.
Okay, more funding in the system, in the safety net public mental health system. I think more funding than ever before, which is great. Thank you for that. The problem we're having now is workforce, right? So I usually come up here and say, if I had the money, I could do this. Now I'm saying if I had the staff, I could do this. So we are really actively recruiting, trying to get people into the field, trying to recruit folks to come work for our agency and work in Clay County. If you have any suggestions or guidance for that, we would appreciate it. But thank you for your support. We're celebrating 40 years in the community this year. I was doing a new employee orientation the other day, and a new employee came up to me, a young new employee came up to me and said, "Have you been the CEO since the beginning?" And I had to say respectfully, no, I wasn't quite that old, but I'll end on that note. Thank you for your support. We appreciate it.
I appreciate it. I see Lisa in the back. Hold on one second, Lisa. We'll do one more thing. And I'm going to call Nancy Keating. I saw Nancy sitting over there. Take you out of order. Talking about anniversaries. This is Challenge Enterprises' 50th anniversary year in Clay County. And if anyone's deserved the right to cut in line, it's Nancy Keating. So.
A little bit ahead of us.
Nancy, you are recognized. And before you even start, let me just tell you, Challenge Enterprises has done more for folks with disabilities in the state than it could possibly be imagined. And just before you even start talking, I just want you to know we appreciate you.
Thank you.
The families who rely on your services appreciate you. And just with that being said, you are recognized.
To follow that, thank you.
We
Thank
mean
you,
it.
Mr. Chairman.
We mean it.
I wanted to announce our 50th anniversary, and Irene, I haven't been there all that long, but I am that old. Older. But once again, as everybody has done, thank you for all your support for the many opportunities that we've had, and especially for the rate increases that our direct care personnel received in our group homes and our training programs. And of course, I would like to remind you that the supported living coaches were not included in that. And they have to go out into the community where our people live in either their own homes, which we have helped them purchase. They have their own homes, their own condominium, live in apartments, or they rent a room from a family member. And our staff have to go there and they have to respond. We've had, I was reading a report recently of our staff and how many medical appointments we have to take people with significant disabilities to. They don't drive. Transportation will continue to be a barrier. We need more help with transportation. And doctor's appointments just take longer. You have to sit there for hours sometimes, waiting your turn to get in. So please don't forget that population of staff who, as many of us have requested your assistance with that. Transportation. I hope that you will continue to hear that during your session. There's a great need for that. Challenge Enterprise has been really fortunate. We've been able last year to employ 213 people with significant disabilities, and they earned $2.1 million in wages that they use to buy their homes, buy their cars, purchase items and go bowling, donuts, hot dogs, you name it. We're out there, they're spending their money in our community, and we couldn't do that without the support of the entire community over those last 50 years that helps us achieve those goals and help them on their journey through life. And now we're at a point where many of them are in their end years of their journey in life, and we're looking at how do we provide the right supports, or how do we find the right facilities to help them through those last years, last moments in life. So once again, we're excited. Challenge Enterprise is here for 50 years. We're going to have our big celebration in January. Ian put us out of business on our big celebration back in September, but we'll just move it. We'll celebrate for another 14 more months. So thank you once again for your time. Thank you for recognizing Challenge Enterprise out of turn.
Thank you, Nancy. Thank you very much. All right, now Lisa, sorry about that. My conscience was killing me having Nancy sitting. I apologize. You're recognized, Riverkeeper. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. My name is Lisa Reineman. I'm your St. John's Riverkeeper. We're a privately funded organization representing citizens throughout the St. John's River watershed to protect and restore our river, its tributaries, as well as its springs. And I want to thank you for your commitment to our waters of the state, as well as access to all. It's all about getting folks out on our waters to enjoy them, whether it's fishing or hiking or trailing or boating, but getting out on Florida waters. We're so fortunate to live on the St. John's River and its tributaries. Our waters not only provide us fun and recreation, they improve our quality of life, they support our health, put food on our tables, and provide jobs. However, for our river to sustain our healthy economy, we must sustain our river. In 2017, Hurricane Matthew and Irma really demonstrated just how vulnerable we are to major storm events. This fall, Hurricanes Ian and Nicole brought record flooding to many of our upstream St. John's River communities, including Orlando, Sanford, DeLand, Astor, and Malacca, not only destroying homes and businesses, but dumping millions of gallons of raw sewage into the St. John's and its tributaries. Back-to-back hurricanes, polluted water and saltwater intrusion has wiped out eelgrass from Lake George to Jacksonville, resulting in a loss of fish habitat, water quality filtration, and flood protection. Fortunately, your leadership can save the St. John's and all the communities that depend on a healthy river and an outdoor recreational economy. First, we respectfully ask for your support to reunite Silver Springs, the Ocklawaha, and the St. John's River, restoring more than 150 million gallons of fresh water every day, improving water quality, offsetting saltwater intrusion, reestablishing a critical link in the Florida Wildlife Corridor, and restoring fish and wildlife habitat. Reuniting the rivers will sustain the river's fishing heritage and can increase vegetation by 28%, grow jobs, eliminate flood risk to more than 500 homes, and contribute to a projected 7.6 return on investment. We look forward to continuing to work with you all and everyone in the community to reconnect the largest tributary to the St. John's. We also ask for your commitment to end the inequitable transfer of South Florida sewage sludge to the headwaters of the St. John's. South Florida continues to send 50,000 tons annually of sewage sludge to our river. Evidence of severe conditions in the upper St. John's River resulting from this dangerous practice is clear and undermining the river's health all the way to the First Coast. Again, with your leadership, the First Coast and all the communities along the St. John's can have a more resilient river, more resilient neighborhoods, and a more resilient economy for today and future generations. Thank you so much for your commitment to Florida waterways.
Thank you, Lisa. And that was very good timing, by the way. You nailed that. Jenny Steibolt with Green Gardening. Did I say that right, Steibolt? Okay, yes, please, you're recognized. Oh, yes, please, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, I'm Jenny Steibolt. I'm a botanist. Green Gardening Matters is my blog. It's not really an organization, it's just me. And I'm here to talk about the environment. And I'm going to start with invasive plants. And the state of Florida spends $54 million a year on the removal of invasive plants. And that's in addition to other organizations that also are doing that and volunteers. And yet many of them are still for sale. And I believe that it would be really cool if you could stop the sale of known invasive plants. There are resources on that handout. Lisa covered my thing about the Rodman Dam, that it needs to be removed. That is very important. And in 2014, 75% of the voters said that we should be supporting the Florida Forever, and many times that money has not been used to create new land opportunities, and I think that we need to spend more time and more money on that land. And the last item is that climate change is happening. I'm the co-author of Climate Wise Landscaping, an award-winning book, and if you need a copy of it, I have one here. And I think we need to recognize that climate change is here, and there is so much that we can do as a state And I would appreciate it if we could do more for discouraging fossil fuel industries and encouraging renewable resources, because it's extremely important. We have to be good stewards of our only planet. Our grandchildren are counting on us to be good stewards. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Ms. Stello. I appreciate it. Thank you. All right, next up is Barbara, is it Gubin?
Governor.
Govin, sorry about that. Barbara Govin with the Sierra Club of Northeast Florida. You're recognized, ma'am.
Well, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you very much for this opportunity to speak. My name is Barbara Gubbin, and I'm here to speak on behalf of the Sierra Club. We're asking you, as you consider legislative action that impacts our environment and the state's natural resources, to consider the following priorities. Climate change. Our climate is changing with a range of negative results. Flooding, stronger and more destructive storms, increasing temperatures, and an untenable property insurance situation. We have all witnessed this happening, and we need legislative action to address the causes of climate change, not just action to improve resiliency. Florida needs to transition to 100% renewable energy statewide before 2050. Emissions need to decline rapidly across all economic sectors. Coal needs to go, and transportation needs to be electrified. We should be protecting our forests to capture and store carbon, and buildings need to become more energy efficient. Land conservation. Florida needs to expand the acreage of conserved land, increase investment in permanent conservation easements through the Rural and Family Lands Protection Program to protect ranch and agricultural lands, and allocate all funds remaining in the Land Acquisition Trust Fund after debt service to acquisition of conservation land as required by the 2014 Water and Land Conservation Constitutional Amendment in such a way as to eliminate the current inequitable distribution of funds between North and South Florida. Water quality and quantity. There are multiple ways to improve water quality, address contaminants in drinking water with tighter standards, regulate all polluters of our water supply, fund the replacement of septic tank systems in cities like Jacksonville and in cities in Clay County, which pollute our river and creeks. And to be sure we have sufficient water for future generations, incentivize conservation, only issue consumptive permits for large projects when they're clearly in the public interest and not as currently consistent with the public interest, and revisit a water use fee for withdrawing water in Florida. And finally, the Sierra Club, like a number of others that have spoken, is in favor of breaching the Rodman Dam, thus avoiding a disaster as the dam is well past its life expectancy, and restoring the Ocklawaha River and the ecosystems of this, the St. Johns River, and Silver Springs. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. All right, before we call up our next, we're about an hour and a half. Anybody need a break? All right, we're going to power through that. Next is Linnell, is that Philmon? Did I say that correctly?
Yes, sir.
All right, President of the League of Women Voters, you're in the First Coast. You are recognized.
Thank you very much. I'll be providing you with a list of our legislative priorities via mail and only address a few of our asks today. Home rule. The erosion of the power of home rule is corrosive to democracy, leaving local officials stripped of their authority to make decisions based on local conditions that can vary tremendously across the state. Each community has different needs, resources, and barriers which would best be addressed by local government. Voting and election integrity. Access to the ballot box by eligible registered voters should not be a political issue. We ask that before creating any new voting or election legislation that you at least consult with the Supervisor of Elections Association or your local SOE. As Americans, we should want all eligible persons to be able to register and cast a vote without hindrance. Choice, the right to make personal choices about whether to carry a pregnancy to term are some of the most personal and private decisions a person can make. And this right of privacy is protected by current Florida law. The League believes every person deserves the access and privacy to make their own reproductive choices, and we ask that you make no legislation that prohibits or restricts a person's right to make these personal health care decisions. Education, we ask that you support full funding of the Individuals with Disability Education Act, infrastructure spending for statewide internet capability, and the ability to bring back veteran teachers who participate in the Florida retirement system. We also ask that you require total transparency of all education providers receiving tax dollars. We know that you are staunch supporters of ensuring tax dollars are spent responsibly, and we look forward to your attention on this issue. Medicaid expansion. We ask you to pass Medicaid expansion coverage to those ages 18 to 64 without children whose incomes are at or below the 138% poverty level, which is $18,762. This courageous act alone would provide health care access to over 400,000 of our fellow Floridians. Gun safety. The League supports regulations concerning the purchase, ownership, and use of handguns that balance as nearly as possible individual constitutional rights where the general interest and welfare of the community. Constitutional and permitless carry does not seem to be in the general interest or welfare of our community members. We ask that you support gun ownerships by private citizens to include a waiting period for a background check, personal identity verification, and gun safety education and annual license renewal. Equity and equality. We ask that going forward, you address the needs of our communities in ways that better us all. Florida is a diverse state made up of natural-born citizens, naturalized citizens, immigrants, heterosexuals, and LGBTQ persons, seniors, youth, people with different abilities and barriers, and a variety of faiths and beliefs. We are better when everyone has a seat at the table and is considered when decisions are being made. With great power comes great responsibility, and the League looks forward to how each of you will use yours for the state of Florida. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, next up is Keith Wingate and Paulette Kirkland with the Fair Association.
Chairman Garrison, Vice Chair Bradley, and Representative Payne, thank you so much for letting me be here today to speak to you. I am Keith Wingate, President of the Northeast Florida Fair Association up in Nassau County. You may wonder why is in Nassau County here at the Clay Delegation.
Seen the light.
Our nonprofit charter calls for us to serve 5 counties, including Clay and Bradford County. So I feel comfortable coming before you to request your support when you see it come across your desk for some funding. That our source of funding is through the Department of Agriculture, Agricultural Education and Promotion Facility Program. We have been successful in gaining some funding from them in the past couple of years to expand our facility and bring it up to ATA compliance. We're trying to get ahead of the population growth here in Northeast Florida, and we're doing something really spectacular for our community there. This year, our sponsors are going to be Clay Yarborough in the Senate and Dean Black in the House. And I just ask that when you see Northeast Florida Fair come across your radar there, that you give us a little push. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's good seeing you. Thank you. All right, next up is Tamika Holly with Elder Source. Excuse me. Yes, Elder Source. Oh, did I miss somebody? Oh, Clayton, I missed you, buddy. You'll be after Tamika. Go, Tamika, go ahead. My bad. Senator Bradley gave me a little nudge here. I missed that. Tamika, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair, Madam Vice Chair, Representative. Thank you for having us here today. I am Tamika Gaines Holly, the Chief Operations Officer for Elder Source, also known as the Area Agency on Aging for Northeast Florida. We service a 7-county area in older adults and 8 persons living with disabilities. Our CEO is right now at the Flagler Legislative Meeting, and I was at the St. John's this morning advocating on behalf of all AAAs, which there are 11 in the state, as well as the Florida Association of Area Agencies on Aging that service hundreds of thousands of older adults and their caregivers. So first, thank you so much for your support of older adults and persons living with disabilities during the pandemic. What you were able to support us in has helped us serve a lot of adults as the needs begin to increase. As Area Agencies on Aging, we are the local presence for the State of Florida Department of Elder Affairs, and as such, we identify the needs of older adults and their caregivers, competitively procure and contract with local service providers who deliver valuable services to older adults and caregivers to help them remain in their homes and communities. And then we provide the oversight and stewardship of the federal and state dollars to ensure they are well spent, those most in need receive the services, and they are quality services. As the population ages and as a result of the pandemic, we are experiencing a growing need for these services. We are asking for your support for increased funding to support community care for the elderly, home care for the elderly, and the Alzheimer's disease initiative, programs that are far more cost-effective than of institutional care. We are also asking for your support for increased funding for affordable housing and homelessness assistance programs that assist older adults at risk of eviction and homelessness. Older adults are particularly impacted by the emerging housing crisis, experiencing increased rents and lack of affordable housing because they live on fixed incomes. Last, as Aging and Disability Resource Centers, we received hundreds of thousands of calls to our helpline from people looking for resources and services. We also screen all older adults and caregivers for all of the state-funded programs and all older adults and adults with disabilities for the statewide Medicaid Managed Care Long-Term Program. We manage waiting lists for those that are in the greatest needs and resulting demand for services that I mentioned earlier. To be able to be responsive to those in need of our services, we are asking for your support of increased funding in the Aging and Disability Resource Centers as well. Thank you for your time and consideration. I look forward to working with each of you. Happy holidays and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Thank you very much. All right, now Clayton Levins, Executive Director of Smart North Florida. Sorry to have skipped you. I apologize.
No problem at all. Good
Recognize
afternoon.
it. Yes, sir.
Clayton Levins, Executive Director of Smart North Florida. We're a 501c3 nonprofit born out of the Smart City movement, really partnering with municipalities and county governments across the 7-county North Florida region to streamline the adoption of innovative technologies that frankly helps their bottom line and provide new services to citizens. We're doing everything from the small stuff like using digital solutions to help fix potholes and unclog stormwater drains to the big stuff to help our first responders use drone technology to deliver defibrillators to those in need in rural counties. We're very excited about the growth of this program, and it's really inspired us to start work on what we believe could be an innovative appropriation program to partner with the state of Florida to help streamline some of this adoption and scale it even further. And I look forward to inviting each of you to the North Florida TPO, where we do a lot of our work out of, which houses the FDLE, FDOT, FWC, and many other state agencies as well as local agencies to respond to emergency issues on our state roadways in our 4-county region: Clay, Duval, St. Johns, and Nassau. And we're just grateful for the opportunity to potentially partner with the state. We're grateful to partner in Clay County with the city of Keystone Heights as a notable partner, as well as we have an upcoming project this year in 23 with the Clay County Board. And I want to thank Commissioner Renninger for his partnership and the rest of the board and the Clay County team. So we're excited. I'll be reaching out to your staff and look forward to sharing more about our program. But we think we have something that's very innovative for the state. It would not just be a tip of the spear program for this region, for the state, but also for the country, frankly. So I thank you very much for your time today. Thanks for letting me join you.
Thank you for being here.
Yes, sir.
All right, next up is Dr. Catalanato. Good afternoon, Doctor.
Good afternoon, and thank you for asking me.
Most
People don't do that. I
I
appreciate the opportunity to be here with you.
Yes, sir.
So I'm a pediatric dentist with over 50 years of experience, and I'm here on behalf of 65 organizational members of Floridians for Dental Access. What we're trying to do is sound the alarm about a public health crisis in our state that is widespread and untreated mostly. This crisis is the dangerously poor state of oral health in Florida. This is not a cosmetic issue. It's a health, economics, and equity issue. And as you heard from Don Fan a few minutes ago on the Way Free Clinic, where they're building a dental clinic, this is a problem here in Clay County. The connection between oral health and overall physical health is well documented. Florida, unfortunately, leads the nation in the number of people living in dental health professional shortage areas. 66 out of Florida's 67 counties have them. That means that there's over 6 million people in our state who have difficulty accessing dental care, even with insurance. From an equity standpoint, research proves that minority populations and people living in poverty suffer disproportionately, which is very disheartening. It's also economically disastrous. Preventable dental conditions wind up in hospital emergency rooms, perhaps the most expensive healthcare setting of all. Florida taxpayers are largely saddled with these bills, totaling over $630 million in 2019. In 2011, the Florida legislature wisely recognized its health crisis and passed a health access setting law that allowed dental hygienists to perform certain services in specific settings. Over the past 10 years, our experience shows that it was a great start, but small tweaks could make it even better. Legislation will be filed soon that makes 3 small updates to improve the 2011 legislation. I will not go over those in detail. They're in a handout that I've already provided to your staff. And our legislation will be filed soon, and we hope that you will support it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doctor. Appreciate you being here. Next up is Erica Smith, with the Director of Hope is Restored. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
You're recognized.
Thank you. Hope is Restored is a nonprofit organization fighting modern-day slavery, better known as human trafficking, and it is located right here in Clay County. My name is Erica Smith, and I'm the founder and executive director. I started this mission in 2020. And since that time, others have joined me in this endeavor. Like myself, the team at Hope is Restored is made up of ordinary people. From all walks of life, we have full-time jobs and are raising families while navigating normal life challenges. However, our team works tirelessly on a daily basis to end this. Why, you ask? Why would a working mom raise 2 kids and join such a cause? Why would a team of people give up their personal time and resources to join the fight? It's simple. Our eyes were open to the invisible enemy that has become such a cancer, and it's happening right here in our communities. Our children are under threat. Did you know that Florida is the 3rd largest hub for human trafficking in the United States? The United States is one of the largest consumers of human trafficking in the world. Approximately 800,000 victims are trafficked out of the country every year. 300,000 American children are at risk for sexual exploitation each year. The average age used, 11 to 14. Currently, there are 45 million people trapped in modern-day slavery today. That's more than ever in history. And it has become a $150 billion a year industry. Human trafficking has become the 2nd most common criminal act behind drug trafficking. Drugs can be sold one time. A human life can be sold over and over and over again. I want to introduce Brenda Harris. She is the director at Hope is Restored, and she can share what we are doing right here in our city.
Brenda.
Thank you. Hope is Restored's mission is for awareness, education, rescue, and restoration. As you know, our Attorney General, Ashley Moody, has organized the 100% Club. This club is to bring awareness to every employee of every business in our city. We appreciate her passion because awareness and education are a critical part of winning this fight. Our citizens need to know what trafficking is, how individuals are snared into it, and what they can do. Hope is Restored has responded to this great need by developing a curriculum that can be tailored to specific audiences. We do this free of charge. The second part is rescue. We recently had a rescue that found us from 5 states away. And when our person on the ground in that state found her, she was hiding in a cemetery. She came to us like so many rescues, with a shirt on her back, without identity, and with numerous medical needs. This is, should I stop?
Wrap it up.
So anyway, she came with numerous medical needs. And so Hope is Restored responded. We've taken on all of that responsibility. Restoration is also what we do. We recently got our first safe house, and it is the first safe house in Clay County. The first safe house in Clay County. During this time, we will have our residents there for 2 years for restoration, and then to prepare them to become independent, free citizens. As you can see, the need is enormous. The resources are limited. So we are definitely a David and Goliath organization. We appreciate this opportunity to share with you Hope is Restored. We know that even though we have tireless volunteers that give their time, none of our team is paid. We are all volunteers, but all of this takes funding. So we are hoping that you can help us fund the Safe House Fund, help fund some of our girls that we rescue, and to get the education out as it's so desperately needed. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate what you do. Next up is Ken Willie. Ken, you're recognized.
Thank you. I will try to get this all in 3 minutes. I saw in the news a few days ago that the governor and Speaker Renner have decided that, or announced that constitutional carry will pass this year. Honestly, I'll believe it when I see it, but I found something earlier today that made me kind of change the direction of this. When you have a debate, you have to understand the definitions. If we're debating on an issue and we have entirely different definitions of the subject, then we're not going to go anywhere. And I found this quote: "We don't even have a definition of constitutional carry because it's not really defined in our Constitution," meaning the state constitution. That was from May by Senator Pasadoma. So let's lay out what we're talking about here. When we in the gun rights community talk about constitutional carry, we want the ability to exercise our right to carry a firearm, either openly or concealed, without having to ask for permission with a permit. More specifically, what we would like to see is a repeal of Florida Statute 790.01, which is prohibiting unlicensed carry, and Florida Statute 709.053, prohibiting open carry. One of the things that's brought up is training, and I'm often at odds with the gun control extremists. When they talk about gun safety, they mean gun control legislation. Gun safety is entirely different. It's safely handling a firearm. Sorry, that made me lose my...
Keep going.
Recently, I was talking to Matt Collins, who represented Florida gun rights in Tallahassee earlier this year. And he said that in states that have passed constitutional carry and maintained the permit system for reciprocity, that they've seen training go up because more people, they get used to being able to carry inside the state. They apply for a permit, which requires training so that they can carry in other states. So we're not really looking to repeal that. People can get a permit if they want so they can travel to other states, but we shouldn't need a permit to carry inside Florida. And looking back at this, at the history, another thing the gun control extremists like to say is that this interpretation of the Second Amendment is very, very recent. But I'll wrap it up here.
Thanks.
In 1941, in the Supreme Court of Florida, Watson versus Stone, Justice Beaufort, in his concurring opinion, discharging someone who had been arrested for carrying a firearm, commented that, and I have to do this off the top of my head, that he felt that this was an offense, this law itself was an offense to the Second Amendment and the state constitution's Declaration of Human Rights, I believe. And he goes on to say that he knows the history of this law and that it was passed in 1890s and amended in the early 1900s for the express purpose of disarming the Negro laborers in the turpentine camps, and that it was never intended to be used to be enforced against white people. So the very history of this permit goes back to racism, and most gun control goes back to disarming minorities. Even the greatest massacre.
Bring it in for a little.
Okay, I could go on and on.
I know. That's why we're bringing it in for a while.
The greatest massacre in American history at Wounded Knee was because they couldn't get Native Americans to give up their guns and get on the trains. So let's go back and hopefully this recent Supreme Court decision that says we have to look back at history will get rid of this nationwide, but that's going to take time and a lot of lawsuits. So please repeal those two laws and nothing else.
Thank you, sir.
No compromise.
Appreciate it. Thank you. All right, next up is John Williams with the ARC of Bradford County. Mr. Williams, good afternoon, and you are recognized.
Thank you, Representative Garrison, Representative Payne, Senator Bradley. It's good to see you again. I just wanted to take a moment and say thank you very much for the Florida Legislature and the Governor's Office just funding the HCBS waiver services. We are extremely grateful for the increases in funding that we received last year. As the Executive Director of the ARC of Bradford County, I'm here to request more funding, obviously. We serve 5 different counties along with Bradford and Union County. We also serve Alachua, Putnam, and Clay County as well. And we, as a rural provider, are always looking for opportunities to serve our community. And we know that with the increased wages assigned with the proviso of the legislature last year, it definitely creates a deficit for us. So we thank you again for your continued support and commitment, and we look forward to working with you in the future.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. All right, next up is Lauren Steiff. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Steiff.
Steiff. It's a 50-50 chance I got it wrong. Ms. Steiff, you're recognized.
My wedding hashtag was Stife Wife Life.
Now I'll always remember it. There you go. There you go. You're recognized.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm here on behalf of the Junior League of Jacksonville as we proudly approach our 100th anniversary serving the greater Northeast Florida community. We're an organization of women committed to promoting volunteerism, developing the potential of women, and improving the community through the effective action and leadership of trained volunteers. We have nearly 600 active and sustaining members in the region, and we focus our volunteer and advocacy efforts on issues related to nutrition and food security. The Junior League of Jacksonville is one of 23 leagues throughout the state of Florida, and together as the Junior Leagues of Florida State Public Affairs Committee, we represent over 11,000 members statewide on issues of importance to women, children, and families. This is the first year since 2020 that we'll be able to resume our annual advocacy conference in Tallahassee, and our members will be visiting with their legislators in the Capitol on March 14th and 15th. Because our local league's priority in both volunteerism and advocacy is improving access to healthy food for families in our region, we work closely with Feeding Northeast Florida, and we want to lend our support to the requests that the Feeding Florida Network would make to the Florida Legislature throughout the 2023 session. Our state committee takes positions on a broader portfolio of public policies. In addition to hunger and nutrition, we advocate for legislation in the areas of improving education, supporting at-risk youth, and increasing community safety. We also support an increase in civic initiatives and mental health initiatives, including the expansion of the Florida Civics and Debate Initiative and an expansion of First Lady Casey DeSantis' Hope for Healing program. Last year, we advocated for the sales tax exemption on diapers, and we were really pleased to see that the legislature created that exemption for 1 year. We were even more pleased to see that exemption in Governor DeSantis' tax relief proposal in September. So we ask that you once again support that sales tax exemption and this time make it permanent for Florida families. Thank you so much for your consideration today, and we look forward to meeting with you or your staff when we visit Tallahassee in March.
Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
You mentioned the diaper thing. I'll just give credit to Chairman Payne. That was his committee, and he was
Thank you so much, Representative. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
All right, next up is Cornelius Jones. And while Mr. Jones makes his way up, if there's anyone else who wants to speak and hasn't filled out a card, this is kind of speak now or forever hold your peace time. So if anyone else would like to speak, please fill out a card and get it to Mary and we'll get going. Cornelius, good to see you and you're recognized, sir.
Thank you so much. I'm here this evening on behalf of the Clay County Changemakers, which is an advocacy group for individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. This evening, we've heard a lot about the importance of the waivers, so I'll be intentional so I don't belabor this too long, but some of the needs for Clay County, so there's 3 A's. There's accountability, there's accommodation, and there's acknowledgement. We have a population of citizens here in Clay County who don't have the resources necessary, and that's problematic all by itself. And I think when you're already a marginalized group and you don't have the services necessary, that complicates the life for those individuals as well as their families. So transportation, I heard that mentioned earlier. With us being in Clay County, being the 25th largest county in the state, I see no reason why we can't have that. But I understand that everything comes down to allocation of resources. So part of that challenge would be, and it may fall under the healthcare budget, I heard that mentioned earlier, and I think we can get there by doing some focus groups to find out exactly what those needs are with individuals who have those disabilities, and then perhaps reporting back to you all to see how you can get those resources to them. So some of the things that's listed here is funding for the medication waiver. Funding for the waiver program allows people with disabilities to have choice and opportunities. It lives independently as possible in the community. It empowers them to be employed. It empowers them to become homeowners, promote families to allow their adult children to reside in the homes with support necessary to prevent living in institutions. It promotes, it's cheaper than people with disabilities living in nursing homes. And then an iConnect, which I'm sure that you all are aware of, iConnect system that has been put in place through Agency for Persons with Disabilities to be a neutral hub of documentation, and is funded by taxpayer dollars. As stated on ADP Care's website, it will take several years to develop, although the system continues to be ineffective as many providers have money recouped due to the complexities of it. And I know today that there was a resignation of the individual chairs there, so I know that that's probably going to take a little more time to get together. So that's what I wanted to speak to you guys about in regards to individuals with those intellectual and developmental disabilities, because we do have people here in Clay County. We also have people who want to move to Clay County, but when their services aren't available, then that complicates their life. So thank you so much, Simon, for this opportunity and for this consideration.
Thank you, sir. All right, next up is Helena Cormier. Did I say that right?
I go by Cormier.
Cormier, gosh.
Hi, my name is Helena.
Still on the struggle bus today.
That's okay. I actually wear many different hats. You know, one is a mom and a citizen of Clay County. I've lived here for 22 years. I'm very grateful for all of these different services that are out here and everybody that's involved. I am who I am because of everything that's county has offered. So extremely grateful. I'm also a realtor with Florida Homes Realty and Mortgage, and there's so much that we're seeing behind the scenes with all of this growth and development. So we just pray for some of these changes. One of my other spots is that I'm a supervisor with the Rolling Hills Community Development District. It's a CDD community, and there's different things that we've learned and for us, and we see the growth and development that's going on in our county. And I believe in being proactive versus responsive, reactive. And we've got some different areas of concern with the management companies, communities, and them having conflicts of interest when you have one that is managing one that is the owner president of another, and just different things that as we go through the growth and development in our communities, and we have so many different growth here, that we need to make sure that we're holding people accountable. I do hope that we could request and advocate for full disclosures of affiliated businesses, that if there is communities that those management communities, if they have affiliated businesses, that they can be, whether it be using an affiliated business to do a forensic audit, but just something to keep them accountable. And then also with the CDD communities, ours, we had pocket parks that the developer never developed. And so that has ran into an issue where we've had sex offenders that have been able to move into the community because that pocket park wasn't developed. So if there's anything that we can do to hold these developers accountable for developing these before the houses are purchased, that would be huge. And then just addressing some of these rental companies that are developing rental communities and just buying up the land, dictating the market. And it is going to be very difficult for our children and our grandchildren to be able to afford to live in our county. And if some of these things don't change, you know, we're going to be not having all of our kids here with us. So thank you for your time. And I just want to say thank you again for everything that y'all are doing to serve in our county and just representing us. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thanks for waiting and being patiently.
Absolutely.
Next up is Carrie. Is Carrie here? Carrie Harold? Didn't see Carrie here. All right, going once, going twice. All right. Next, I've got a couple cards, so we want to get everybody. We've got 4 speaker cards. We want to make sure we get everybody taken care of here. First up is Denise Mosley. Is Denise here? Oh, they're hiding in the back. All right. On deck will be Vicki Banks, followed by Pamela Henry and Robert Phillips. All right, Ms. Mosley, you are recognized.
Hello. Good afternoon, and thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to speak. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. My name is Denise Mosley. I am a claims examiner with the Florida Department of Veteran Affairs. So I am here for all of our veterans. And what we do is we connect our veterans with their well-deserved benefits. We try to give them the things that they've so worked hard so for, and we try to connect them to the benefits of compensation, food, housing, whatever we can do to guide them and help them. So we want you from the Florida Department of Veteran Affairs to keep us in mind when you have veterans that come to your office looking for assistance. That you don't send them to any other place, you send them right to the Florida Department of Veteran Affairs. We have several offices located here throughout Jacksonville, one right here in Clay County on College Drive. So that's our newest clinic. So by all means, send them there. It's not downtown to the Jacksonville office, but send them to the Clay County office where they can get the services and the support that they need.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Denise. Next up is Ms. Banks, and on deck is Ms. Henry and Mr. Phillips. You're in the hole.
Hello.
Ms. Banks, you recognize.
Oh, thank you. And again, I want to thank you. Everyone's thanked you, and I really appreciate you all doing this work in Tallahassee. I'm here today to talk to you about a volunteer need. No money. I'm not asking for money, so that ought to make you smile. There's a need for a volunteer citizens collaborative board. So you might be saying, what is that? A volunteer citizens collaborative board will be a group of volunteers either appointed by the legislature or through Volunteer Florida that would help transcend the turmoil that exists between incarcerated people, their loved ones, and the Department of Corrections. A volunteer citizens collaborative board would be able to go into the prisons unannounced, similar to the unannounced I'm so nervous, I'm so sorry.
You're doing great.
Visits
You're doing great.
as legislators are tasked with doing. However, we know how busy you are when you are in session. This is why the legislature needs to appoint a volunteer citizen collaborative board of members who can do this much needed work as a supplement to the unannounced inspectors that you all make. Now, you might be thinking, well, we already have that in the Inspector General's office, but that's not entirely true. The Inspector General's office oversees concern of abuse and criminal activity. What I'm talking about would include that which will be reported to the IG's office, much as the same as a teacher or nurse has a duty to report. But in the same way, the Volunteer Citizens Collaborative Board would receive all issues from incarcerated people that they have not been able to resolve or are concerned about the retaliation which comes from speaking up about an issue. An example of some issues would be everything from broken water fountains, computer tablets, issues of derogatory statements are not being served the proper portions of food. Now you might be thinking, why wouldn't they report this to the prisons? Many times incarcerated people or their loved ones are afraid to report anything because they fear and very often experience repercussions. Having a volunteer citizens collaborative board would allow all paid people impacted by incarceration to have a safe avenue to funnel their concerns and really have them addressed and fixed and hopefully resolved. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate it. You did great. All right, next up is Ms. Henry, Pamela Henry. And following Ms. Henry is going to be Mr. Phillips. Ms. Henry, you're recognized.
Hi, I'm Pamela Henry. I'm a citizen and a small business owner here in Clay County. First of all, I want to thank you for your service. I met with both of you, you're next. And I thank you for your accessibility and your willingness to just talk things out and meet concerns and questions that I've had in the past. So I was 1-for-1 last year. I brought forth the caregiver problems with our elderly and the ability for them to get to them to continue to give care. And I thank you very much for your response to that. So I'm going for more this year. A couple of things I was concerned about with the special session, as in speaking of the Florida statute 381-00315. For those of you listening, that's the law that allows an appointed health officer to treat, quarantine, and test by force if necessary during a state of emergency. Since we couldn't get it done last time, all we were able to do during special session was get that word vaccine removed. I'm hoping that we move that up and make it essential that we get that whole law taken off the books completely. I thank you for sending a message to the businesses and that they had to accept exemptions for the COVID-19 jab. But as I stated when I spoke to y'all before you voted on this bill, we should not have to ask permission from anyone, especially an employer, a healthcare provider, or a government institution, for the constitutional bodily autonomy or the right to make our own healthcare decisions. I don't need a permission slip from anyone. So I'd like that language corrected in that bill also. I also support constitutional carry. Everything that gentleman talked about is absolutely necessary for our constitutional republic to survive. And my final request is this, is life for our newborns. In Clay County, we do choose life. And last I checked, the abortion industry in our nearby county had increased by 18% because our laws are easier on abortion than they are in Georgia, Alabama, and Arkansas, our neighbors. This is a real problem. I mean, the parking lots are full at the abortion clinics in Duval County. So I thank you, Senator Bradley, for putting forth the bill last year for life. And I anxiously await instructions from you on how I can assist you to have life from conception in the state of Florida, have abortion completely eradicated. And when you do get this done, it would be very helpful to have more accessible adoption opportunities so moms-to-be can avoid DCF and have a more positive adoption experience on both ends of that beautiful exchange. I appreciate all that you're doing. We're praying for you, so I know that you'll be successful in all that you do.
Thank you, Ms. Henry. I appreciate that. All right, our last speaker is Mr. Robert Phillips.
Thank you, sir.
Hey, Robert.
Last but not least.
I
am Robert Phillips, and I'm a disabled Vietnam veteran. I do Veterans Treatment Court, and I've done it for 10 years, and I have a lot of things to discuss. Primarily, though, with our new senator lady. I did vote for all you guys, so I hope that means something. There is Mary. Is Mary still here?
She's over here.
Lynn?
Turn around, turn around.
There you are. Good. Anyway, I recently participated in a study. It was done by this folks down here and this other group. They're from Texas, where I'm from. They came and did an outstanding inventory of 4 counties and the veterans there and their services. Ironically, one of the biggest needs of those veterans was dental. We go, what about mental health? Oh yeah, that's there too. They do need health care. Now, what we have found, unfortunately, you don't get much of anything until you get arrested. How do we know who you are? How do we know where you're at? You go to jail, oh, are you a veteran? Yeah. Well, let's try to get you in this program. The program has went through highs and lows. The virus didn't help any, but we did manage to get here. Anyway, Senator, you are in the ideal spot to see this through. I've got a lot of stuff for you to take. And it's only 48 pages, but it is very accurate and it's very truthful. 4,000 veterans have moved here to Clay County this year. I think 3,000 live in Middleburg. There's houses everywhere. Well, what are we gonna do? Or do we ignore them? Do they get in trouble? I don't know. Some of them do. And I made a promise 12 years ago to get out of purgatory. I had to do something of value in my nightmares. I do have PTSD. So when we talk about mental health, I've lived it. And, you know, it's not a pretty picture. You do survive. You can go back to college. Therefore, you speak with somewhat of authority. I did that. And I've done it now. And I'm kind of, you know, I've gotten old. So this is where you come in. Yes. You know, you're going to go there and you go, what is all this stuff? I went to Plano, Texas 3 months ago for my family reunion. And I looked at Collin County. Boy, do they do a great job there. They have a lot of money and they ask for money. I don't know where they get it, but it comes, and they do 4 other counties around them that don't have treatment court. So thank you very much. God bless you. God bless the state of Florida, and God bless the USA.
Amen.
Thank you for your service, Mr. Phillips.
I'll just say this, Mr. Phillips is a longtime volunteer in Veterans Court. And Veterans Court, Drug Court, some of those folks that did the work they do, especially for our veterans, is critical. So thank you for, it doesn't happen without volunteers like you. So thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, that's all the comments we have. The next item on our riveting agenda is the election of chair and vice chair for this coming year. Oh, Commissioner Renninger.
Can I summarize?
Oh, boy. Hop up, Jay. I'm going to remind you of this. The next time you run a BCC meeting and somebody gets up because they want to talk, I'm going to remind you of this. Go ahead.
First of all, I want to thank all the participants in today's meeting here. You represent the fabric of Clay County. You know, Mr. Phillips here has a son who's a veteran and also a Chick-fil-A owner on Wells Road. So
darn good one, too.
He gets it from a lot of different places, as we all do. But I want to get down to the meat of the matter. There were a lot of requests here today. In fact, you probably haven't had time to add them all up, but there's $744.2 million of a request. So in 60 days, you can either get it done before 60 or in the 60, but until you get to $744 million, your job's not done. I want to thank you all for taking the time.
You've been waiting your whole life to be standing at that podium until people came.
I want to thank you all for being here today. I know that.
Sit down, Jim.
Thank you all.
Thank you. All right, our next issue on the agenda is the election of chair and vice chair. Since Mr. Paynes, Representative Paynes, in his final term, he is statutorily exempt from serving as chair or vice chair.
Motion, Chair.
Yes, sir.
Since you did such a great job, you're going to get us out on time. Since
early, actually.
Since you know everybody here, and it'll give you an opportunity to pronounce those names that you missed again, I nominate you as chair.
Second.
I have a first and a second. Seeing that the fix is in, all in favor say aye. Aye. All right. Okay, last thing before we get out, it is really encouraging to see a lot of folks sticking around to the bitter end, especially a lot of our elected officials. Thank you for doing that, Steve. I see Sarah back there, and Sheriff. I mean, there's a million things the sheriff could be doing, but she took the time to be here. Mayor, Vice Mayor, everybody. Thank you all for doing that. That speaks volumes about your willingness to listen and care about what people say. So that's why Clay County is a special place. It's a blessing to be able to serve it, and so thank you for that. With that, I'm going to turn to the upper chamber here, and let Senator Bradley have any closing remarks.
Sure, and thank you for that, and thank you for a great meeting. I mean, our delegation meetings are not just a perfunctory box that we check before we go into session. They're really meaningful. You hear from organizations. I've learned a lot. I was in Bradford County this morning, ended the day here in Clay, and I learned about different organizations in the counties, and I really didn't know the full scope of some of what they did. I've learned a lot. But this is the beginning of the conversation. This is sort of this conversation is going to continue through session, through committee weeks, through session. reach out. We're here for you. People have called and said, well, I didn't want to bother you, but that's why we're here. Please reach out. If there's a concern, call, email, we're here. Come see us in Tallahassee. If you're there, come to my office. Email us, let us know you're coming. If you want to do a tour, if you want to just have a meeting, just reach out. We're a resource for you in Tallahassee. That's why we're there. I look forward to all of these conversations continuing and having a great session for Clay County and for Northeast Florida.
Thanks, Senator. Representative Payne.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I just echo those comments. Clay County has been tremendous to me in the past 6 years. I appreciate the relationships I've developed here. Certainly my colleagues, Senator Bradley and soon to be Speaker Garrison, will continue to carry Northeast Florida and Clay County a long way in the upcoming years. I'm looking forward to this session under Speaker Renner and President Pasadomo. They think a lot alike. There will be unity there, and I think we'll continue to do great things for the state of Florida. But thank you to Clay County for all the friendships I've made and for all the admiration we've received as legislators. We're working for you. Please come see us. If you get a chance to visit us in Tallahassee, I think you'll really get a new perspective on what happens in Tallahassee when you visit. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Representative. And I'll close out our meeting before we adjourn again by just saying thank you. To Senator Bradley's point, this is not some sort of perfunctory exercise we do here. I know each of the people on this dais take our responsibilities as legislators and our responsibilities as citizens very seriously. And one of those responsibilities for both of those is for citizens being engaged, and for legislators it's having open ears and listening. So as long as we're here, you always got an open door with your delegation. Even when we disagree, we're going to do it with civility and respect because we're neighbors. We worship together on Sundays. We shop together during the week. We'll have a beer together at Whitey's on the weekend. Because we're a family here. We're Team Clay, and we take care of each other. So thank you for being here. Thank you for caring. Thank you for doing your part to make Florida the great state that it is. And with that, Representative Payne moves we adjourn. And without any objection, we are adjourned. Thank you.